Beloved, you were never meant to make it not like this, not in the state you are now. The enemy set his plans against you, believing that his onslaught would break you, yet here you are stronger, more radiant, more unshaken than ever before. You didn't just survive, you thrived. You stood tall in the face of what seemed like insurmountable odds, and now with every step you declare, I am a testament to God's unyielding faithfulness. They threw everything they could at you, every attack, every insult, every lie, yet none of it could bring you down. And now they are left choking on their own disbelief, witnessing the truth they never saw coming. You are indomitable. You are untouchable. You are chosen. Let me speak plainly, with the clarity that only the Holy Spirit can grant. The enemy knew exactly what he was doing when he came after you. He wasn't just playing games. He wasn't just throwing random darts in hopes of hitting a mark. No, he plotted, calculated, and launched a relentless assault against your very existence. His goal was not merely to cause you temporary discomfort or stumbling, it was to break you heart, mind, and spirit. He sought to dismantle you, to strip away your identity, your peace, and your trust in God until there was nothing left of you but ashes. His mission was clear: to erase you from the narrative that God had written for your life. Every whisper of doubt that crept into your thoughts, every moment of betrayal that pierced your heart, and every season of isolation you faced was a deliberate strike in this grand scheme. The enemy wanted to convince you that you were alone, that you were forgotten by both God and man. He wanted you to feel invisible, unheard, and utterly abandoned. But the enemy failed to recognize one powerful truth: when you are chosen by God, your purpose is indestructible. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54 verse 17. Some of the people you trusted, some of those you called friends, became unwitting instruments in the enemy's hands. Whether they were aware of it or not, their actions and words were often tools of division, doubt, and discouragement in your life. It's painful to realize, but it's a truth we must accept. Sometimes, even the closest people in our lives can unknowingly align themselves with forces that are trying to derail us. Society, too, joined the chorus, telling you to just keep it together, to carry on as if everything was fine, even as your spirit felt crushed. It mocked your struggles and ignored your pain. It praised those who opposed you and tried to make you feel small. It was a weight too heavy to bear on your own. Yet, despite it all, the truth remains that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34 verse 18. But here's the turning point: the enemy underestimated you. He thought he could break you, shake you, or destroy you. He didn't count on the strength of God that dwells within you. He didn't anticipate the divine power that would rise up in you at the very moment he thought he had you cornered. For those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. Isaiah 40 verse 31. What was meant to destroy you only revealed the weakness of the enemy's plans. What was intended as your downfall became the canvas for God's glory to shine even brighter. There was a time, perhaps, when the weight of your burdens felt unbearable. The storms raged on, and you couldn't see a way out. But God, in His infinite mercy, did not leave you to face the darkness alone. His hand moved in your life, not quietly, not subtly, but with undeniable power. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. Isaiah 43 verse 2, He said. You may have felt surrounded by despair, but God was already at work orchestrating your breakthrough. You were never abandoned in your trial. You were being refined, being shaped into the person He always intended you to be. God didn't just pull you out of the storm, He walked through it with you. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 23 verse 4. When everything around you screamed for surrender, God's whisper was louder: stand firm and see the deliverance of the Lord. Exodus 14 verse 13. When your strength faltered, His strength became your anchor. When you pleaded for escape, God was working behind the scenes to ensure that your breakthrough was on the way. What you perceived as the end of the road, God saw as the beginning of a new chapter, one that would be a powerful testimony to His glory. The pain you endured did not go unnoticed by the Creator of all things. Every tear you cried, every sleepless night, every moment of heartache was part of His divine plan. He didn't waste a single one of those moments. He used them to shape you, to refine you, to mold you into something greater than you could have ever imagined. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. James 1 verse 2-3. What emerged from the fire of adversity was a believer who is unrecognizable to the enemy. Like gold purified in the furnace, you came out stronger, purer, and more resolute in your faith. The enemy tried to weaken you, but God used the very things meant to destroy you as a forge, strengthening your spirit and reinforcing your identity in Him. For you, God, tested us, you refined us like silver. Psalm 66 verse 10. Now, you stand as a living witness to the strength of God's hand upon your life. But God didn't just rescue you, He elevated you. His plan wasn't merely to bring you out of the storm, it was to raise you higher than you were before. Every closed door, every delay, every battle was an opportunity for God to show His power. He turned your trials into stepping stones, preparing you for a future filled with His blessings. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. Now, look at you. The enemy tried to write you off, but God rewrote the story. He is not just the God of second chances, He is the God of resurrection. When the enemy declared it was over, God stepped in and declared, I have the final word. Proverbs 16 verse 9. And it wasn't just the external forces that were attacking you, the battlefield was also in your mind. The enemy relentlessly waged war on your thoughts, bombarding you with lies and doubts. He whispered that you were not enough, that you would never recover, that this was the end. Those lies came not only in the form of words, but were accompanied by memories of past failures, rejections, and shame. But what the enemy didn't know was that he was fighting against the one who has already overcome the world. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. John 16 verse 33. The lies that weighed on your mind, the doubts that sought to cripple your spirit, were never stronger than the truth of God's word. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8 verse 32. The enemy thought he could control your life by controlling your thoughts, but the God who fights for you had a different plan. And now you stand free, not because you fought your own battle, but because the battle belongs to the Lord. 2 Chronicles 20 verse 15. You are not just a survivor, you are a conqueror. More than a conqueror through Him who loved us. Romans 8 verse 37. Your resilience comes not from your own strength, but from the indomitable power of the living God. You are not just a testimony of survival, you are a living, breathing testimony of God's grace, power, and victory. Now, stand tall. Know who you are. Know whose you are. You are a child of the Most High God, and no weapon formed against you will ever prosper. Here's to you, the chosen one, the one who doesn't fit in, the one who sees beyond the veil, the one who's been told to stay quiet, to settle, to conform, but never could. You aren't interested in what's ordinary, you aren't here to follow someone else's rules. You're the light in the dark, the storm that shatters illusions, the unshakable, the unstoppable, the untouchable. While the world is busy running in circles, you're walking your own path alone, if you must, not for the applause, not for the approval, but because it's who you are. You've always known that your journey was never meant to be easy, but it was always meant to be purposeful. Here's to you, the one who dares to challenge the status quo, the one who takes what was meant to destroy you and transforms it into something divine. Your resilience has been tested, and yet here you stand, standing tall and unwavering. You carry wisdom that can't be taught, only earned through the struggles and trials that have shaped you. That wisdom is a gift, one that makes you a beacon for others who are lost in their own darkness. When they seek your counsel, they're not just hearing your voice, they're witnessing the fruit of God's work in your life. They see the light that shines brightly in you, even when the world around you feels dim. You're not just surviving, you are mastering your journey, walking boldly, with eyes wide open and a spirit anchored in divine truth. The mental battles you faced weren't signs of weakness, they were evidence of your strength, your resilience, and your refusal to give up on the promises God has placed over your life. It wasn't just about surviving the storms, but being transformed by them. Every struggle, every sleepless night, every tear you shed has rewired your spirit, refining you into someone stronger, more capable, and more aligned with God's purpose for you. You've learned how to fight with faith, how to lean on Him when the weight of the world feels unbearable. Those nights when anxiety gripped you, you found solace in God. In those moments of emotional despair, you turned to prayer, something that once felt difficult, but now became the lifeline that connected you to your peace. The depression may have tried to steal your joy, but God reminded you that joy doesn't come from the circumstances around you, it comes from Him. And so, despite the darkness that seemed to suffocate you, you found peace, and with it, you discovered a new level of strength you never knew you had. God didn't abandon you in your lowest moments. He was refining you, preparing you for something greater. Piece by piece, your emotional scars became battle stripes, proof of every fight you've overcome. And here's the truth: the enemy doesn't want you to hear you are unshaken because of these battles. They didn't break you, they fortified you. With every trial, you grew sharper, more focused. Your faith became stronger, your mind clearer, and your spirit unstoppable. You've been through the fire, and now you wear the proof of your victory. The scars that once made you feel broken now testify to your resilience. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. And that, my friend, is the testimony the enemy feared most. Nothing, no struggle, no hardship, no setback can take away the strength you've gained through these trials. Your victory is unshakable. Trials have a way of sharpening the senses, don't they? Think about it. How many times in your past have you looked back and thought, I should have seen that coming? The enemy has a way of exploiting your trust, your good intentions, and your willingness to believe the best in people. You once walked through life assuming the best in others, believing in their goodness. But those experiences left you wounded, didn't they? However, those wounds have not only healed, but they've given you a new clarity. God has equipped you with discernment, the ability to recognize His voice above the noise of the world. He has shown you how to separate truth from lies, how to spot the traps the enemy sets long before you step into them. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. It's the wisdom that comes from walking closely with God through the darkest valleys, from relying on His guidance, from learning to trust in His timing and plan. Each trial you've faced has taught you how to move differently, how to move with purpose and intention, how to make wise decisions that align with God's will. This discernment isn't just for your protection, it's part of your divine purpose. God has used every test, every hardship, to build a foundation of wisdom in you. You now know what's truly of God, and that knowledge has transformed the way you make decisions, the way you view relationships, and the way you walk through life. You no longer settle for mediocrity because you recognize the excellence that God has placed within you. You understand that you were made for more than just existing, you were made to thrive. The gift of discernment that you carry is powerful beyond measure. It's what allows you to see beyond the surface, to dismantle the enemy's plans before they even have a chance to take root. When something feels off, you know it. When the world tries to convince you to follow its path, you can hear the Holy Spirit clearly saying, "This isn't right." And because you trust that voice, you move with confidence, knowing that the Holy Spirit is your guide, your protector, and your source of wisdom. The wisdom you now carry didn't come easy. It was forged in the crucible of your struggles, your fears, your doubts, and your pain. But now that wisdom is your weapon. It's the one thing the enemy cannot take away. It is unshakable. What's more, this wisdom isn't just for you, it's a beacon for others. It's a light that shines in the darkness and guides others who are lost in their own storms. Your life has become a testimony of what it looks like to walk with God through trials and emerge stronger. You've learned to see with spiritual eyes, to walk with clarity and purpose, and now you have the tools to help others do the same. You are walking proof that when God refines someone, He equips them with the tools to thrive in any situation. And because of that, you walk boldly, eyes open, spirit prepared, and heart anchored in divine truth. Nothing can shake you now because you know that every battle you face is simply part of God's plan to prepare you for your purpose. You are equipped, you are ready, and you are unshakable. You've learned the most powerful lesson of all: your strength comes not from your own abilities, but from the one who strengthens you. And because of that, you can face anything that comes your way. There were moments, weren't there, when you questioned if you could keep going? The weight of despair felt suffocating, and the scars, those invisible marks left by heartbreak, betrayal, and loss, were almost too much to bear. Yet in those dark nights, God was there, speaking softly into your spirit: "You are mine. You are stronger than this moment." It wasn't just your faith holding on, it was God holding on to you. He refused to let you be consumed by the darkness. And let's not gloss over the tears, those moments when you were curled up, overwhelmed by emotions too deep for words, thinking no one saw you. God saw you. Every tear was a prayer. Every cry was a plea. He heard it all, and he didn't ignore your pain. Instead, he allowed that pain to strengthen you. This wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Do you understand the weight of what God is doing in your life? Sometimes we get so caught up in the daily grind, in the struggles and the setbacks, that we fail to see the divine hand that has been guiding us all along. The doors opening for you right now, they aren't the result of luck or random chance. They're not because of your achievements or connections, but because God has declared, "This is my child," and it's their time. When he speaks, everything aligns with his will. When he says yes, no one can say no. And that is the essence of God's favor, an undeniable force that moves mountains, opens doors, and places you exactly where you need to be. Favor is not fair, and that's the whole point. It's not something you can earn with your works or qualifications, because it's a gift given freely and without conditions. Favor places you in rooms you never thought you'd enter, gives you opportunities you couldn't have even imagined, and allows you to thrive in situations where others expected you to fail. That's the power of God's favor. His grace elevates you beyond your limitations and circumstances. It takes you from the pit to the palace, from being overlooked to becoming undeniable. What might have seemed impossible for you in the past is now within reach, all because God has chosen to bless you in ways you never dreamed possible. Let me make something clear: you didn't make it through by accident, and you're not standing here by luck. Your journey has been purposeful from the very beginning. Even in the darkest moments, when it felt like you were walking through a storm with no end in sight, God's hand was still at work, protecting you, guiding you, and preparing you for something greater. The times when it felt like everything was falling apart, that was favor at work, keeping you hidden and safe, positioning you for the right moment to step into your destiny. Even when the world couldn't see it, God was strategically shaping you. His favor doesn't just shield you, it elevates you, pushing you toward a destiny that is beyond your wildest imagination. His favor isn't always obvious at first. Sometimes it comes through moments of rejection, setbacks, and painful experiences. But even in those moments, God's favor is shaping you, building your character, and preparing you for what is to come. The rejection you faced, that was God redirecting you towards something better. The setbacks that felt unbearable, that was favor working behind the scenes to build your strength and resilience, so that you could handle the blessings that were coming your way. Think about it: how many people are walking through the same fire you've already come out of? You've survived trials that many people are still facing, and they are searching for hope. They need reassurance, they need proof, and they need to know that there is life on the other side of their storm. This is where your testimony becomes so powerful. When you speak, you are not just recounting a story of struggle, you are sharing a message of faith and hope. You are showing others that the same God who delivered you is ready and able to deliver them too. Your words are not just inspiring, they are a weapon against the lies of the enemy, tearing down strongholds and setting captives free. Every time you open your mouth to speak about what God has done for you, you are breaking chains. You're not just telling a story, you are fighting a battle. Your testimony carries authority because it's not just your words, it's God's truth in action. You are speaking life into situations that seem impossible, and you are demonstrating the power of a living God who works miracles, transforms lives, and brings freedom to the oppressed. Your testimony is a living proof that God's power is real, and it's available to all who will trust in Him. The beauty of your testimony is that it silences the accuser. The enemy wants to keep you quiet. He wants to tell you that your struggles don't matter, that your story is insignificant, that no one will believe what you've been through. But the moment you speak out and declare what God has done, you silence him. The enemy cannot argue with the truth of what God has done in your life. He can't erase your victories, your healing, or your transformation. Every scar you carry, every battle you've won, every miracle you've witnessed is a direct rebuke of the enemy's lies. Your testimony strips the enemy of his power and exposes his tactics for what they truly are: futile attempts to keep you bound. When you share your truth boldly, you remind the enemy and everyone else that he has already been defeated. The victory is already yours, and the enemy has no authority over you. Your testimony is a reminder that God's power is greater than any attack the enemy can bring. It's a declaration of his sovereignty, and it sends a message to the world that no matter how strong the enemy appears, God's plan will always prevail. Your story isn't just a record of what you've been through, it's a weapon. The enemy wanted you to stay silent. He wanted you to wallow in shame, to allow regret and guilt to hold you back, so that no one would ever know the battles you've fought and won. But God has given you a voice, and your testimony is a declaration of war. Every time you speak about what God has done, you are shaking the foundations of the enemy's camp. Your survival isn't just for you, it's for everyone who is watching, listening, and wondering if they can make it through too. When you share your story, you're not just telling a narrative, you're building faith in others. You're showing them that they don't have to give up, that they can make it through the storms of life, just like you did. Your words are more than just inspiration, they are a lifeline for those in need. You are giving them the courage to keep going, to trust in God, and to believe that their breakthrough is on the way. And here's the truth: you don't need a stage, a microphone, or a large audience to change lives. Every conversation, every moment of vulnerability, every time you say, "This is what God did for me," you're making an impact. So own your testimony. Stop hiding it, minimizing it, or waiting for the perfect moment to share it. God brought you through the fire for a reason, and that reason isn't just for you to bask in the comfort of your own healing. It's so that you can stand tall, bold, and unashamed, declaring His goodness to the world. The world needs to hear what you've been through. Someone's breakthrough is tied to your obedience. Your story is your weapon, and it's time to wield it with authority. Someone out there is waiting to hear exactly what you've overcome, because your testimony holds the key to their freedom. You are not just a survivor, you are a messenger of hope, and your words are powerful. Speak up, chosen child of the Most High, and watch how your obedience becomes a lifeline for someone else. If this resonates with you, then maybe it's time to find your people. The Obsidian Inner Order is the only place of its kind, the #1 ascension nexus for chosen ones. It's where over 400 of us gather to share wisdom, connect, and transform. No masks, no games, just truth. If you're ready to step into the next chapter of your journey, the link is in the description. You'll know where to find us. And if you're not quite ready yet, that's okay too. The choice is yours. But when the time comes, remember your people are waiting. Let's settle this once and for all: the enemy is powerless. He may seem loud, persistent, and intimidating, but the truth is, he has no real power over you. He can try to shake your confidence, spread lies, and even manipulate situations to his advantage, but in the end, every move he made against you, every scheme he orchestrated, every trap he set, it all failed. Do you understand what that means? It means his authority over your life is an illusion, a mere shadow, and you, chosen child of the Most High, have walked right out of his grip. Your survival, your ability to stand firm and rise above his attacks, is the evidence of his defeat. Your victory, no matter how small it may seem in the moment, is the undeniable proof that God's power reigns supreme in your life. The enemy thought he could break you, but you've emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. God doesn't bring you through the storm just to leave you in the aftermath. He is a God of seasons, and right now you are stepping into something new, something greater than what you've known before. But here's the catch: a new season requires a new mindset. You can't carry the baggage of the past into the blessings of the future. The old wounds, the past mistakes, the fears and insecurities, they all need to be left behind. You've learned valuable lessons in the hard seasons, but now it's time to prepare for the blessings that lie ahead. The strength you've gained, the wisdom you've accumulated, and the endurance you've developed through the struggles are the tools you need to walk confidently into this new season. The pain is behind you, and the promise is ahead. It's time to embrace the future, to trust in God's timing, and to walk forward with faith that the best is yet to come. This isn't just survival, it's dominion. What the enemy meant for evil, God is turning into something beautiful and powerful in your life. The very things the enemy tried to use to destroy you have become the weapons you now use to overcome. The pain, the rejection, the battles you fought, they were never meant to defeat you. God was using them to mold you, to strengthen your character, and to position you for the victory He has in store for you. And let's not forget this: the enemy's power was broken at the cross. When Jesus rose from the dead, He shattered the authority of sin, death, and darkness forever. That victory wasn't just for the past, it's for your present and your future. The enemy's schemes against you don't just fail, they backfire. Every attack he sends your way only serves to elevate you, to strengthen you, and to bring you closer to your divine purpose. Here's the truth: the enemy is unoriginal. He repeats the same tired tactics, the same lies, the same tricks, hoping you won't notice. He's like a broken record, playing the same old tune of shame, fear, and doubt. He wants you to go back to the places you've already been freed from, to revisit the battles you've already won. But now you see it for what it is. You've gained discernment, the ability to recognize his strategies before they even unfold. And you have the wisdom to render his attacks powerless. His weapons are dull, his threats are hollow, and his attempts to destroy you are laughable when you stand in the light of God's power. You know that you are covered by the blood of Christ, protected by his promises, and empowered by his strength. What's more, the enemy is frustrated by you. Every time you rise, every time you praise, every time you refuse to give up, it's a direct assault on his kingdom. He wanted you silent, broken, defeated, but instead you are standing tall. You are declaring the goodness of God, walking boldly in the victory he has already won for you. Every step you take in faith, every moment you choose joy over despair, is a blow to the enemy's plans. You are living proof that God is faithful, that his promises never fail, and that his favor is upon you. Now I want you to hear this clearly: this is not just about surviving, but about walking in dominion. You were not created to simply endure life's hardships, but to overcome them and use them for your good and his glory. The trials you faced were not random, they were part of God's divine plan to shape you, to prepare you, and to position you for a season of restoration and abundance. The heartbreak you've experienced, the setbacks that seemed like failures, the battles that left you bruised, all of it has been training for what God has in store for you. And now you're ready to walk into rooms you once thought were out of reach, ready to claim opportunities that once seemed impossible, ready to step into your destiny and live fully in the purpose God has designed for you. But don't mistake this for a passive process. Preparation is active, not passive. This is the time to sharpen your focus, to pray with intention, to move with purpose. Every step you take from here on out should be in alignment with God's will for your life. This is not the time to get complacent, to rest on your laurels. This is the time to press forward, to go after what God has promised you with everything you've got. And while you're walking in the victory God has given you, remember this: stay humble. Pride is the quickest way to lose the blessings God has for you. Always acknowledge that it is by his grace and mercy that you are where you are, and never forget that you are blessed to be a blessing. Stay vigilant, because the enemy doesn't give up just because you've won one battle. He will keep coming, trying new strategies, but you are ready. You have everything you need to stand firm. And most importantly, stay obedient to God's voice. His timing is perfect, his plan is unstoppable, and your alignment with Him is the key to walking in all that He has for you. Walk with your head high and your spirit unshaken. The enemy's best efforts couldn't stop you, and they never will. He can roar, but he cannot touch you. He can threaten, but he cannot win. You are covered, protected, and empowered by the God who has already declared your victory. And remember this, the enemy didn't just lose, you won. And because of that, you are unstoppable. This new season of your life is not just about personal achievement or success, it's a divine moment of transformation that extends far beyond your individual journey. God is positioning you as a beacon of light in a world often clouded by darkness. You are called to be His voice for the voiceless, a vessel through which His glory shines. Your rise to prominence, whether in your career, your relationships, or your personal growth, is not merely a reward for your endurance, but a sacred responsibility to lead, inspire, and serve. The blessings that are beginning to unfold in your life are not only meant to bring you comfort, they are entrusted to you as a part of God's greater plan for His kingdom. With every opportunity that comes your way, remember that it's not for your own benefit alone, but for the advancement of His purpose in the world. God's plan is far greater than we can fully comprehend, and as the Apostle Paul reminds us in Ephesians 3:20, now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. We are often called to participate in His work in ways we never expected. As you step into this new season, do so with a heart full of faith and gratitude. You have been prepared for this moment. The challenges you've faced, the pain you've endured, and the victories you've celebrated have all been part of God's refining process. The journey wasn't just about surviving, it was about thriving. Isaiah 40:31 reassures us, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles, they will run and not grow weary, they will walk and not be faint." You are now stronger, wiser, and more equipped to fulfill your divine calling than ever before. God never intended for your experiences to be confined to you alone. The battles you've fought and the lessons you've learned are all part of a larger divine story. Your testimony is not just for you to hold on to, it's meant to spark faith in others. Your life is a living testament of God's faithfulness, and when you share it, you become a light for those who are still struggling in darkness. There are people around you, some of whom you may never even realize, who are watching your every move. They are facing the same trials you've overcome, and they wonder how you did it. Your story, your transparency can give them hope and courage to face their own struggles. As it is written in Revelation 12:11, they triumphed over Him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Your testimony has power, not just to strengthen your own faith, but to bring others to the light of Christ. Your courage, your obedience, and your willingness to share your struggles and triumphs can break chains of despair and ignite a new hope in others. You do not have to have all the answers, you only need to show up and be willing to be vulnerable. People don't need perfect models, they need proof that survival is possible, that they too can overcome with God's help. This season is a call to action. It's not enough to simply pray for others, we are called to walk with them through their pain, to share our resources, and to offer the wisdom God has entrusted to us. As we read in 2 Corinthians 1:4, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. Your pain had a purpose, it equipped you to help others. And as you step forward in your journey, never forget that every act of obedience, every word of encouragement, and every moment of faith you share is part of God's divine plan to build His kingdom. Stand tall and speak with boldness, because your testimony is not just for you. As you walk confidently in the victory God has already declared over your life, you become a source of strength for others. The storms you have weathered and the battles you've faced have prepared you not only to survive, but to lead. Your faith, your resilience, and your story are the tools that will empower others to rise, knowing that if God could bring you through, He can do the same for them. Let this be a reminder, you were never just meant to survive, you were chosen to rise. Stand firm in the truth that God has a plan for your life, one that is far beyond what you can imagine. As you move forward, Know that you are a chosen child of the Most High, destined to rise above every obstacle and to lead others to His light. God is with you, and His purpose for your life will always prevail.